Hello, and welcome to the Egenera Pan Manager High Availability Training Session. My name is Mark Marchese, and I'm going to take you through an introduction of Pan Manager's high availability features and functionalities along with a demo towards the end. To deliver high availability for physical machines, typically you would deploy some form of clustering software. This is basically two machines with one being primary and running the apps and the other there to pick up the load should the primary server fail. Clustering software is expensive and has a number of dependencies such as additional network for monitoring and like-for-like hardware. Also, the failed machine will need manual intervention to replace, repair it, and then possibly reconfigure it should NICs and HBAs need replacing. To deliver DR for physical infrastructure, there are a number of options. The old way was a man would turn up in a van with some hardware, not necessarily the same hardware you would have in production, so the process would be to build the servers up to the operating system levels and then restore from tape backup. Newer ways involve SAN replication to ensure the data is shipped to the DR site, while software products such as Symantec and DoubleTake will get you back up and running using the same kind of principles as clustering, but over greater distances. But these solutions are not cost-effective and have limited platform compatibility. Also, once in DR, you wouldn't normally have any further protection. If the DR server fails, then it's effectively game over unless you cluster at the DR site as well. For virtual infrastructure, there are tools that manage HA for virtual machines. If a virtual machine fails or the underlying hardware upon it which is hosted fails, then the virtual machine will be restarted automatically on another host server. People often say that this is seamless with no downtime due to live migration technologies. However, how can you live migrate a virtual machine that isn't actually live? Answer: you can't. Downtime is unavoidable. As with clustering, if a host server fails, it will need manual intervention to replace, repair it, and then possibly reconfigure it should NICs and HBAs need replacing. Again, a number of options. Man with a band to build the hardware, but this time little easier, as once the hypervisor is in place for the virtual machines can be loaded without too much hassle. The other is to use a virtualization DR tool, such as something like SRM from VMware. The big downside to this is cost. SRM costs over $18,000 for 25 virtual machines, plus the additional cost of the mandatory management tools. So we end up having two different methodologies for managing the two types of infrastructure silo. Deploying cloud-based services and virtualization keep adding to the complexity and will continue to grow. Wouldn't it be great if there is a solution where you could manage both of these environments, delivering the same levels of HA and DR with just one management tool? Another feature that Pan Manager offers is something known as an LPAN, or Logical Processing Area Network. This feature allows you to create secure boundaries and securely divide PAN resources into sections. Each LPAN is allocated its own dedicated blades and necessary resources to create server profiles. This allows different business units or customers to manage their own environments in a secure manner. In this case, a number of blades are allocated to each LPAN, and in turn each LPAN is used for either a different department, or if you're a host provider, this could be for a different customer. As we have seen previously, an HA blade can be allocated for any failures of production blade servers. In this example, you might only need one HA blade to cover all 4 customers. If one of their production servers fails, the HA blade becomes part of the LPAN and as such remains secure. For hosting companies, this approach can give you a distinct advantage in offering HA. Instead of needing a spare blade for each customer, you would just have an HA blade covering all of them. In this case, one HA blade for 4 customers, which means you could offer HA at a quarter of the price. N+1 high availability allows Pan Manager to deliver high availability for blade servers and the operating systems running on them without the need for expensive clustering software. Pan Manager uses the concept of a high availability or failover blade. A PAN domain can contain one or more HA blades. You could configure one blade to provide a backup to any of the remaining 15 blades in a single enclosure, or you can create a pool of spares in which the event of a blade failing, it will allocate a spare from the pool. Unlike clustering software, PAN Manager allows you to fail over onto a server that is completely different specification from the original. It also provides a unified failover, meaning it can manage both physical operating systems as well as hypervisor host servers. So what happens if a blade server fails? PAN Manager will see the failure immediately and then invoke the failover policy associated with the P-server definition. In the example, we have a failure of the Exchange server in slot 2 of the enclosure. PAN Manager sees the failure immediately and applies the P-server definition to the physical blade server in slot 16 of the enclosure, the location of the HA blade. The server storage traffic is now routed to the new blade as the MAC and WWN have gone with it. There is no reconfiguration of the storage or networking to be done. The failed blade can be replaced when convenient. You can then fail the Exchange server back onto its original server in slot 2 or allocate the replaced blade to the HA blade. Now that we've covered some of the HA basics for PAN Manager, I'm going to log into PAN Manager as root. And demonstrate how to add high availability to an existing P server. So in the previous training sessions, we created an LPAN named MSMail, and under that LPAN we created a P server named Exchange. As you can see, there's a primary P node assigned to this P server, but there's no failover HA available at this time. So what I'm going to do is assign high availability to this Exchange P server. First, I'm going to check to see if there is a pool available, a pool of P nodes that's already assigned for high availability purposes. So first off, I'm going to go back to the PAN Manager resources, go under pools. As you can see, there's a number of pools already populated here. One that sticks out in particular is this global failover pool. But also notice that the LPANs that have access to this global failover pool is Apache, Oracle, VDI, and WebLogic. So this is excluding the MSMail LPAN that we created earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the global failover pool. And I'm going to click on the LPAN access button. And sure enough, the MSMail LPAN does not have access to this global pool of HA blade servers. So I'm going to check on access and also boot and hit submit. I'm going to scroll back down to the MSMail LPAN. And also notice that the LPAN has resources listed available too, like P nodes, pools, vSwitches, etc. I'm now going to click on pools to make sure that the pools available to this particular MSMail LPAN has access to the global pool that I've just now assigned it access to. So I'm going to click on the local pool for the MSMail LPAN. And I'm going to create a link to the global pool that I've just created access to, so I should see that one available now. Click on the global failover pool radio button. It shows two P nodes available. I hit submit. Again, if I put the mouse cursor underneath the icon, I get some detailed information here about that pool of P nodes. I'm now going to go back to the Exchange P server and assign the P node, the failover P node. So again, using the local LPAN pool resource, I'm going to select pool, assign, and sure enough, it's now been assigned and there's 2 P nodes available in that failover pool. It's just a matter of a few mouse clicks in order to set up high availability. For more information about the PAN Manager server portability license, please contact your Egenera sales rep. This concludes the Egenera PAN Manager High Availability Training session. Thank you.